Folks, BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds on everything from NBA and college basketball to the NHL and UFC, BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source. Folks, I'll tell you what, the NFL season just ended, but this is the time to get your long-term bet in for next year because I just hit it big on the Philadelphia Eagles winning the Super Bowl. So you get in early. That's when you get the good odds. Although maybe the Eagles odds aren't great right now because they are the champions, as we all know. But from every three-pointer to hat trick, BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here. Enjoy the show. And we are the champions, my friends. Bow, bow. They fucking did it. Folks, I'm going to start this one off by saying this is not going to be our best time for Flyers talk, okay? There's not going to be a lot of Flyers talk in this one. If there's one to skip, if you're not like into anything except the Flyers, maybe this is the one, or skip to the end because we'll talk about the Four Nations tournament at the end of the show. But the first, at least the first half of the show is going to be Eagles talk. I'll try to make a little timestamp for y'all that are just hockey fans. But listen, Flyperbole, I consider it, it's mostly Flyers, but there's a lot of nonsense. And I'd say there's a very healthy amount, at least 25% of this show is the experience of Philadelphia. I live in South Philly. One would say South Philly is a character in the show, if you will. So I very much love to talk about Philadelphia here. Ryan Quigley has recently moved to Philadelphia, so we get to share these experiences. And I don't think there's anything more important to this town than the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Philadelphia Eagles winning a championship, the second of my lifetime. I think it's the fifth in franchise history, and their second Super Bowl, which is the only thing that seems to matter to NFL fans. Mm-hmm. Only the third championship in my 40 years on this earth for a Philadelphia sports team of the four major sports. Unbelievable. It's got to be talked about. It's special. It's important. And it's just like, dude, we were talking about this just before we started recording. Like, we're going to be vibing off this for weeks. Like, everybody in the city just feels amazing right now.
All offseason, all NFL offseason, I'm going to be riding on this high, it's just an incredible feeling. It's interesting because I still remember the feeling of the first Super Bowl. And I feel like that one felt a little bit sweeter just because it was the first Super Bowl. But this one feels so good. So goddamn good.
It feels
amazing. The way they won was something none of us expected.
I was thinking about this last night because how my thought progression has gone is Bourbon Steve took over Sunday night. It was just a nightmare for everybody around me, but I was having a lot of fun. Monday, I paid for Bourbon Steve immensely and didn't feel good until 7:00 at night. And then Tuesday, I could actually form human thoughts again. So I was thinking on Tuesday about this, and it's like, okay, so this is the third championship I've had as a Philadelphia sports fan. First one was the Phillies in 2008. And that's just that was sweet relief. That was a monkey off my back. It was very cleansing, very it felt like a religious experience in a way. It was an awesome feeling. And then the first Eagles won, second championship in my life, the 2018 Philadelphia Eagles. That one was that was jubilation. That was an amazing game. I think it was an all-timer game, which certainly added to the vibes there. The fact that you beat Tom Brady in an offensive shootout, Nick Foles with the Philly special, which is a one-of-a-kind play. You have also the signature Brandon Graham strip sack. You have signature plays in that game that really define that game, and that's an all-time Super Bowl. It's just an unbelievable experience. And also just because the Eagles are so important to this town, that was such a big deal. That was also a really big deal for me because that was the first time I was living in South Philadelphia for one of them. I lived in Northeast Philly for the Phillies championship in '08, and I just wasn't into Frankfurt and Kottman. I just really wasn't feeling it. I feel like
Yeah.
there's a different vibe to Broad Street than Frankfurt and Kottman. But, no offense to everybody who goes ham at Frankfurt and Kottman, bless your souls. You guys do crazy stuff, and I appreciate it. But the South Broad vibe is a little bit more what I'm into. But, the Eagles are just such a big deal that I just felt like that was like a phenom. That felt like that cleansed some more spirits from me. And it really made me feel like a whole person at the time. And also, we're also talking like a decade apart, or a little under a decade apart between those two championships. So there was enough time for me to be like really thirsty for one again. Not that I wasn't thirsty for one, but this time we're talking about 7 years, right? It's a 7-year gap between championships for the Eagles here, which is like, if you think about how long I've had to wait through my life, I had to wait 25 years for that first one. Okay. And then 9 years for the next one. To decrease that to 7 years felt insane to me. And for it to be the Eagles again, for them to dominate, for them to, like the Phillies dominated in '08, if you look at it objectively from the outside, right? Like the Phillies won that in 5 games. But there was that crazy rain delay that split game 5 up into 2 parts, and it felt like the gods just didn't want us to get that championship.
Right.
Time. And 2017-18 went down to the wire. It went down to that Hail Mary at the end. It was so tense. This time we knew by halftime, by the time Kendrick Lamar took the stage, we were pretty damn confident that the Eagles were winning the Super Bowl. I mean, the second quarter, knew. And the thing is, like, because we're so superstitious, because we are so downtrodden, beaten down, negative people, we think, well, there's always a chance, especially because Kansas City's Magic. Kansas City has beaten everybody in Magic fashion before. So if there's one team that can do it, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. But then, like, they poured it on more. And then, they're up 30 plus points to nothing. And you go, I can't deny it. It's happening. It was domination in a way that I've never seen from a Philly sports team on the biggest stage. Just absolutely dominant. I felt exhilarated. I felt powerful in a scary way. Like, just roaring outside. So at one point in the night, I think some people have seen this video on social media now at this point on Blue Sky or Instagram. I was feeling so empowered and crazed that I was like, I'm going to go outside and film a video of me just screaming like an idiot. And I step out front and I look across the street and I see 2 police jackets and they're looking into the alley across the street with a flashlight. And I just, Grandpa Simpson turned around and went right back into my house and told everybody in the house, do not go out front right now.
Yeah.
So that I did my crazy shit talking out back. But like, that's how like I felt. Like, I just felt like I felt like invincible in a weird way.
Every Eagles fan had all of the Infinity Stones.
Yes. We snapped the Kansas City Chiefs away.
Yeah, it was incredible. And just, again, the way that they did it. No one expected it to go that way. No one expected it to be this absolute blowout. And this final score, 40-22, it should not have even been. The Eagles didn't even care for the last quarter of the game. They didn't care at all. They were just letting the Chiefs do whatever they want, basically, because it didn't matter. They benched all their starters. It was a bunch of
Kenny Pickett.
They didn't care. So it was just, what a night. Like, so I know that you had a party down at your place in South Philly. Me and some friends went to a bar called Fringe on the east side, right by the Benjamin Franklin Bridge.
Your night looked wild. Like, I feel bad about this. I actually like tell you couldn't come because we had max capacity for my house. It was crazy, and I felt terrible about it until I saw your setup, and then I'm like, dude, that looks insane. That looks incredible.
I didn't know it was going to be like that. So we went to Fringe Bar, and they had basically like theater seating and a giant movie theater size TV screen to watch the game. So we went and we were nervous because we walk in and there's like no like seats in a row for like me and all my friends to like sit together.
Oh no.
Like, oh no. But then we look in the top corner and there's like a kind of like a booth thing in the absolute as high up as you can go along the wall. And we were like, dude, this is it fit all of us perfectly. And we were like, this is amazing. So we sat there, we sit down, dude, the whole lead up to the game, they are just blasting Meek Mill, like just, you know, everything, just everything to get you in the mood. You felt like you were about to go to war. I swear to God. I posted on his Instagram. I felt like I was about to invade Normandy that day. It was incredible. And so I just remember, you know, game starts, people get, you know, they're just losing their minds. And it was just amazing. Everything about it. It was just an amazing experience. And, you know, after the game ended, first things first, the way that place erupted when Cooper DeJean got that pick. I mean, my God, on his goddamn birthday, his 22nd birthday, 22 years old. He does that on his 22nd birthday. My God, could you imagine, Steve?
I can't even imagine. And the fact is, so it was two guys' birthdays that day. It was Saquon Barkley's and it was Cooper DeJean's. And Cooper DeJean, if you're not as familiar with the Eagles, Cooper DeJean is a defensive player. He's a cornerback. So for him to, you thought, okay, the clear one to score a touchdown on his birthday should be Saquon Barkley because he's the best player on the team. He's unbelievable.
But he's the best player in the NFL.
He had the best season of a running back ever.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a fact check. He literally had the best season ever. So you're like, it's got to be Saquon if anybody's going to score on his birthday. No, it was Cooper DeJean. Cooper DeJean got the touchdown. And what a pick six, an interception return for a touchdown on Patrick Mahomes, who, to say whatever you will about the GOAT conversation, Patrick Mahomes might already be a top 5 quarterback all time.
Yeah.
Like, he's got the titles. He is that talented. He's had that good a career already. Yeah. And he's still like in his prime, you know? So for Cooper DeJean at 22 to do that and
just to rise up to the moment at that age, to play as well as he did on that stage, and just have a moment like that on his birthday, it's just amazing. The whole thing was crazy. And no, I agree. I agree. I think you could argue Pat Mahomes already. Like, to me, I still think Brady's the GOAT for now, but Pat Mahomes is on a trajectory to absolutely blow him out of the water without question. Now we'll have to see what happens here, because if the Chiefs just start collapsing after this, like if this is, you know, kind of the end of the Chiefs reign of terror, then how cool would that be for the Eagles to be the team to kind of end it, you know?
Oh man, to end like 2 dynasties. Well, the Patriots went and won another one after they beat them again. So I guess, but whatever. Yeah. They've beaten 2 dynasties now, regardless. Like, you can't deny that those teams both have respective dynasties. The Chiefs didn't get the 3-peat, but like, they are a dynasty that the Eagles beat the Kings again.
Yeah.
And there's so many cathartic things about this game. You know, there's the fact that Jalen Hurts got his revenge from 2 years ago, which is, I think, one of the coolest sports stories. I think that's not being talked about enough. And it's being talked about a lot, but I don't think it's being talked about enough. Jalen Hurts loses that game. And there's an iconic photo of him walking sad off the field with all the Chiefs confetti coming down. Jalen Hurts made that his lock screen on his phone to look at that every day and fuel him to vengeance. Jalen Hurts is a quiet guy. He's a real soft-spoken guy. He keeps a serious face at all times. And, you know, like, there's a moment, I just watched this right before we went on, where Saquon Barkley goes up to him. He's like, "You going to smile now?" And he's like, "I'm going to smile when it's 0-0 up there on the clock." Yeah. You know, he's a guy who takes it very seriously. So for him, he did the Michael Jordan thing, where if you've watched The Last Dance, Michael Jordan's catchphrase in The Last Dance is, "And I took that personally." Jalen Hurts took that personally.
Yep.
And he came back, and he's taken a lot of shit over the past few years. He's been told time and time again, he's not an elite quarterback. He's not one of the best. He's not even good. People shit on him constantly. And he just won Super Bowl MVP.
And he did it in the most satisfying way, too, because, Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator of the Chiefs, it was blatantly clear that the entire game plan coming into the Super Bowl was shut down Saquon Barkley, make Jalen Hurts beat us because we don't think he can. That was the game plan. And then Jalen Hurts says, number one, did you forget about two years ago?
Hold on, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Y'all thought I was finished?
That's right. Exactly what happened. And then, so he's just like, did you forget what I did to you 2 years ago? Bet I'll just do it again. And then he proceeds to do it again. And he's Super Bowl MVP, 3 total touchdowns. He's got a tush push tutty. Although, listen, on that play to Jahan Dotson, what a throw.
What a throw.
Unbelievable throw. So close to being a touchdown pass, but he ends up getting the tush push touchdown anyway.
Which, again, it's something he doesn't get enough credit for because, I saw one of the guys I follow in Blue Sky had pointed this out where Josh Allen just 2 weeks ago against the Chiefs tried to do a QB sneak in a critical situation of the game and got turned away.
Yep.
Jalen Hurts makes it, and that's also the Eagles' offensive line. The Eagles have the best offensive line in the biz, but Jalen Hurts can squat 700 pounds. Jalen Hurts is like a freak. He is incredibly strong, and my dog his muzzle is unusually wet, and I'm curious what has happened here. That's never good. But Jalen Hurts is he's next level at that play.
Yeah.
He's what makes that play so good. Not just anybody can do that play to the degree he can. That's why the brotherly shove is a Philly special, because only the Eagles can execute it on that level. Nobody else can execute it like that. And I think people underestimate that because they make it look so easy. They make it look so automatic.
Yeah. And I mean, it kind of goes back to the argument of should they take the tush push out of football? Absolutely not. Don't hate the player, hate the game. If you can't pull off that play as well as the Eagles, that doesn't mean you should get rid of the play. It means you should probably just improve at it. So I don't know. I loved I'm glad that he got that tush push touchdown because I love how up in arms people get because of the tush push. So the fact that they scored that kind of touchdown on the biggest stage was, to me, beautiful. But on top of that, you got the tush push touchdown. You've got absolute mayhem is happening.
We're doing great here, folks.
I don't know what's going on.
Drinking mysterious stuff.
I have no idea what's happening.
My curtains falling. We're all doing great.
It was. I need this to be published on YouTube so I can just get a GIF of your face after it falls down and you just stare into the camera like a TV.
I'm not editing any of this. It's all going. Go Birds! Go Birds, baby.
Go Birds, baby.
Go Birds. Love video podcasts.
It's amazing. But yeah, like I was saying, huge day for Jalen Hurts. I'm glad that he proved all the doubters wrong. I don't know if you saw Steve. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if you saw, but there was a mic'd up from the Super Bowl that NFL Films released earlier today. And basically it was when he threw that absolute dime to Devontae Smith for that dagger touchdown.
Oh,
and
so good.
It was incredible. And basically when he threw the touchdown, Hurst didn't even celebrate. He was just standing there like he was out grilling or something. And, all of his offensive linemen came up to him and they were I love it when they doubt you. You're the fucking man, this and that. Don't let, show them, prove them. And he's like, I am, or something like that. And he just, in the most calm Jalen Hurts voice, is just I'm misquoting some of that, but basically that's what happened.
He is just a cool fucking dude.
He's just a man.
You see how he walks in he's a 90s R&B star into the stadium and stuff. He's just a cool dude. And it's honestly a little shocking that more Philly people don't friggin' love him because you know, like the old school guys always go, like, act like you've been there before. Like,
Yeah.
if you want to talk about acting like he's been there before and he's not impressed by it,
Yep.
that's Jalen Hurts. This dude is like the coolest guy I've ever seen in sports. Like, he's not fazed by anything.
Yeah.
At least he doesn't let you know he's fazed by it.
It's like almost weird. You know what I
It
mean?
is weird.
It's incredible how he's able to do that. I don't know how he does it.
And I'm hoping that he can just be Michael Jordan now for the next few years and just get some more titles, because like he's just a cool dude. And like the Eagles are such a well-built team. And we'll talk about the defense, because the defense was the story of the day, but the offense just freaking execute. And they could have put up more points. The only reason they didn't put up more points because they didn't want to. They didn't have to.
They didn't need
do
to.
shit.
There was simply no reason. They were just running out the clock. You know,
they didn't want to get. They didn't care. You know, they did their job.
Yeah, they took their foot off the gas, and I know that everyone always says, "Don't ever take your foot off the gas," but
they waited until
they were fine. They had literally nothing to worry about. It was impossible for the Chiefs to score like 35 points in 8 minutes. So
when they had taken their foot off the gas was when I was packing my booze bag for Broad Street.
Yeah.
Because like that's the home experience. Is you're like, do we go soon? When do we go?
Yeah,
and my friend, 2 of my friends left super early. They were like confident as shit, and they're there. I think it's very telling that the group of people I had assembled for that game all came for the game and not the parade.
Right.
They did the parade with me a few years back. We all had a great time, but they were more interested in being there for the jubilation of the win and the debauchery on Broad Street than necessarily for the parade, which the parade's a great time. I'm going to enjoy myself immensely, but I'm just friends with hooligans, what it comes down to.
Well, so how did you enjoy the aftermath of the game? What'd you do? I know you went to Broad. What did you end up doing? What did you end up seeing? Tell me about the sights and sounds.
Oh man,
certainly tell me about the smells, Steve.
Oh, it's the smell. Yeah, I'm wondering if I should do a little slideshow right here, because not everybody follows me on Instagram here. So I wonder if sharing a few select photos would be the way to go. But I just wanted to give a shout out before we get into that to, well, do you want to talk about the defense or do you want to talk about Broad Street?
Well, okay, I mean, so let's talk about Broad Street first. Now that we're on it, let's talk about Broad. We can get to the defense in a second after we finish this up. But
yeah, so okay, I'm finding a few select photos to share with the gang here.
Well, okay. Well, you know, while you're doing that, let's talk the defense then. So,
okay. Yeah, let's talk about the defense. I will talk about the debauchery. I will give you painstaking detail on it because I had so much fun. But I would love to talk briefly just about how great that defensive line was and how, you know, this is a town that appreciates a good defense. You know, the Flyers, we love a bone bruising defenseman. We love when Chris Pronger would be out there like elbowing guys and stuff like that. We even liked slow-ass Darian Hatcher burying guys over there. Dan McGillis was a fan favorite for a little bit. Zach Ronaldo.
Listen, Radko Gudas. People love Gudas here.
People love Gudas. We like some deep. I know Ronaldo's not a defenseman. I'm obviously aware. But we like somebody who rocks somebody, right? We love a bone-shattering hit. And the defense, man, of the Philadelphia Eagles saved the best for last. And it's not like they were bad all year. They were the number 1 defense in football.
Yeah.
But their pass rush had not been, I would say, as significant until the playoffs. Like, they had a good pass rush, but in the playoffs, it was next level. Nolan Smith had a ton of sacks. And in the Super Bowl, it was Josh Sweat, who's got one of the coolest names for like a football player.
And one of the
celebrations where he does the wiping off the sweat.
The celebration's the best.
He absolutely demolished in that game. He was next level, just dominating. He had 2.5 sacks. He could have had more. Patrick Mahomes had no time to rest. Like, that was a Philadelphia performance right there. Like, they just crushed all night. My guy, Jalen Carter, who is a fucking monster of a man. Just, he got double teamed all night. He still was beating the double teams. He fucking smashed Patrick Mahomes in the mask.
In the face.
And he got away with it.
Yeah.
He got away with it.
The way in real time watching that play, because so it was Milton Williams who forced and recovered that fumble on the play. But I remember, just seeing Mahomes get hit, he loses the ball. And then I see just the way he went down on that play. I was scared that he was hurt because his leg kind of bent weird. And then his head flew back and everything just because he got basically punched in the face by Jalen Carter.
More or less.
It was just incredible. And everyone, so often people have talked about, if you're playing the Chiefs, not only are you facing the Chiefs, you're also facing the refs too. And I think that must have been so satisfying for a whole lot of America to see that play because, under most circumstances, if you even touch Pat Mahomes, refs are throwing that flag most of the time. Man, Sunday night, they were letting him play, and they were just letting Pat Mahomes get his ass handed to him by Milton Williams, by Josh Sweat. Dude, my boy, Jalix Hunt with a Super Bowl coming out party. My God. I mean, he turned his game on completely in the playoffs. He hardly even played in the regular season. He starts playing in the playoffs. He looks like the recreation of Trent Cole. He's wearing 58. God,
I know. I thought about that. Yeah. And Trent Cole, the notorious hunter.
So, I mean, he looked so good. The whole defensive line. All night. Brandon Graham was held on every other play. I mean,
Brandon Graham, who came back from what we thought was a season-ending injury, plays in the Super Bowl against all odds, plays pretty effectively too. Might be his last game ever. And if it is,
I hope
that's the way to go out. That's don't be Jason Peters, who's tried 8 comebacks since that Super Bowl.
Yeah, no. And I kind of get it for Jason Peters because for him, he didn't even play in that Super Bowl. So I just
assume that Jason Peters has horrible gambling debt or something. Because Jason Peters has played for way too long, and he plays 3 great games and gets hurt every time.
Right.
One of the best Eagles offensive linemen of all time. But oh my God, it's been painful watching him over the years.
Yeah, but I at least for him understand why he kept trying to come back because he didn't get to play in that Super Bowl. But Brandon Graham, as much as I want him to never retire because he's one of the all-time Eagles.
Awesome dude, had an unbelievable and
I want him to ride into the sunset this way. I do.
Brandon Graham also one of the most just guys that did not get enough love throughout most of his career.
Yeah.
Because there was a guy named Earl Thomas who was a safety that was drafted around the same time as Brandon Graham. I forget exactly where in the draft he was, but people resented that for years that they didn't get Earl Thomas. They got Brandon Graham, and Brandon Graham has, the strip sack of Tom Brady is maybe the biggest play. I would say it's probably the second biggest play in Eagles history. Philly special is probably number 1.
Yeah.
But and it's funny because there's not a signature play from this game because they just whooped the fuck
out of them.
They beat the fuck out of them in a way that I've never seen a Philadelphia team do. It was so cool to experience that. And I really turned into a monster. I turned into full Bourbon Steve. I was screaming. I was shit talking. It was just Emily's friends were all who is this monster that has been unleashed? They enjoyed him, but Bourbon Steve was fully unleashed that night. It was terrifying, but it was so cool to experience. So just a badass night. Also shout out to Zach Bond, who re-signed Zach Bond, one of the best.
He needs to be back. He's awesome. I'll be honest, if we're talking about who's coming back, who's not, I won't be surprised if Josh Sweat leaves. I think he's out.
I like Josh Sweat a lot, but that's fine.
I love Josh Sweat, but I think he's leaving. I love Milton Williams. I don't know if he'll be back because I think he's also going to want a nice pay raise because he was pretty good.
He was really good. He had a great game.
Zach Bond has to stay.
Zach Bond is one of the great finds, another great story where he spends his entire career as like a backup in New
Yeah.
Orleans as a special teams player. And then he goes back, has an all-pro season. He probably should have won Defensive Player of the Year with the Eagles, and wins the Super Bowl in the stadium where he toiled for years. Like, you can't write a better story than that. That is so frigging cool. And that dude, every interview I saw, I love that guy. That is like such a great Philadelphia athlete where he's like humble, he's nice, and he fucking kicks ass. He forces
He's awesome.
turnovers. He's smart. He got that interception was such a good catch. Zach Bond, whatever it takes, Howie, you bring that guy back because we love him.
Yeah.
Zach Bond had a great game. Quinyon Mitchell,
Again, just
they didn't
shutting
throw to
everybody down, you know. And listen, I know that like at the end, I think he allowed that touchdown to Xavier Worthy. Dude, no one cared. Nobody. The game was over at that point. It doesn't even matter. Like,
yeah, if it was competitive at that point, I don't think that would have happened.
Yeah,
and even if it did, Xavier Worthy's really good.
Sometimes good players, you know, get beat every once in a while.
But Quinyon had one of the best rookie years I've ever seen. Like, he became like the best cornerback in the league. Like,
as a rookie,
it was insane. He already earned a nickname that I don't know if I love, but it's funny at least.
Quintanamo
Bay.
I think that's a great nickname.
I grew up in the Bush era, so I have some feelings there, but it's a funny nickname.
I think it's so funny.
Yeah.
But you got like you got Coop. Like Coop was playing great.
Cooper DeJean, man.
Dude, here's another guy.
Cooper DeJean is what a find that guy is. Exciting.
Here's another guy that people aren't really talking much about, but like Slay, man. I mean,
Slay had a great postseason.
And dude, like he came out a couple weeks ago and said, like, yeah, this is probably going to be my last season as an Eagle. I'm like 80% sure I'm going to come back and play one more year, but I can guarantee you it's not going to be Philly. And like, and that's only because, you know,
the cap.
Yeah, there's the cap.
Makes a lot of money.
Eagles are not bringing him back because now why? You got Coop, you got Quinyon, and you got Isaiah Rodgers, you got Keely Ringo. Like, you got these young corners. There's simply no reason to keep Slay at his price tag. So he's leaving. And the fact that he was able to get his ring at his age, you know, just knowing that he wasn't going to be back as an Eagle, I thought that was really, really cool. So I'm stoked for him. You know, that's two of the major veteran players on the Eagles, Brandon Graham and Slay, who probably aren't going to be back next year. And I'm glad that they were able to get a ring before their time as Eagles is done.
Slay was such a low-key great move for this franchise where when they traded for him, we were all saying, why would you do that? They were trading for a premier cornerback when this team was not ready to compete. It's a lot like if I'll throw a bone to our beloved Flyers listeners because this is a Flyers podcast. It's a lot like when the Flyers signed Danny Briere, where they needed to sign somebody. They needed to bring somebody in to help fast track the franchise to winning. And he did that. He helped accelerate this franchise into winners. So that was such a great move. Howie's the king. And if Danny Briere, when he goes big game hunting, can do something like that, can make a move like that, you could be the king of Philly too, Danny Briere.
I need Danny Briere to sit down and meet with Howie Roseman and just be like, dog, tell me everything. Tell me everything you know.
Everything.
I'm ready. I want to build what you build. And I listen, obviously football and hockey, building teams are totally different, but like pick his brain, pick anything you can get, any information you can out of that genius of a man's little noggin, because you have, like, the Flyers deserve this, you know,
what he's done.
Like, what's it going to be like when the Flyers finally do it, Steve? Have you thought about, like, imagine Broad Street?
I have thought about this every moment since Matvei Michkov came over.
Yeah.
I have thought about this a lot since he came over. And I know Broad Street won't be like it was for the Eagles. Who gives a shit? The city's still going to get out. Believe me, Philly loves a winner. Okay. People are going to be out there. I will be out there. Even if it's just me, you, Jeff Mang, Flyers goal scored by Fran. Even if it's just us and like the rest of the BSH crew, We're going to drag Kelly Hinkle out of bed at like 11 o'clock at night when it happens. Like Bill Matz, obviously. Charlie's going to be professional and working. Whatever. Whoever's out there, we're going to have a fucking great time. Okay. We're going to take over Broad Street, even if we have to flip over some cars ourselves. But it doesn't matter. People will show up. People love a winner.
I was going to say, yeah, like people like, listen, will it be, you know, I don't know how many people are out on Broad on Sunday night. I would imagine
thousands.
Oh, hundreds of thousands.
Yes.
It had to have been.
It was, I mean, it was full street. Broad Street was full. Broad Street's a huge freaking street. Like,
yeah,
I think this is the time to, you know, I could start my slideshow here, my presentation.
Yeah.
But, oh my God, let's see. It's just like, man, let's share my screen. We'll just share the whole screen. We can just go through it this way. But, yeah, folks. So what I was doing, enjoy all my, by the way, file names here. Oh, I didn't mean to bring up GIMP here. Why is it bringing up GIMP? This is all great stuff right here. Let me tell you.
This is
it's bringing up the wrong file.
Perfect editing.
Yeah, perfect stuff right here. But yeah. So you know what? I'm not very happy with how this is being presented. So
yeah, it's looking.
We're not going to do it this way because it's annoying me. I don't know why it brought those files in. Here we go. Open with preview.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, this is one of the scenes from Broad Street. Can I open them all up at once? This is all exciting stuff. So yes, I grabbed a backpack full of whatever beers I could find, which there were quite a few in my house at the time. And I loaded up from Broad and like near Passyunk, and we went all the way up to South Street. And here are a few of the wonderful friends that I made along the way on this wonderful journey here. So this gentleman in the sombrero here, which I thought was amazing. This guy rocked. Do we see? Oh, I see. It's doing like preview and preview and preview. And we're looking into the infinitesimal world here. So let's just change this up slightly.
You should be able to put all those in like full screen. So
yeah, I think I just have to share my window here. So let's do it like this. There we go. That's much better. So yeah, we've got this gentleman in the sombrero and the poncho, which is awesome. This is just like,
that's great.
This is pandemonium in the streets right here. This is just fucking awesome. I don't even know what that meme is that they were holding up the flag, but yeah. There's me and the sombrero guy, my friend Kate. There's me and my friend Matt, and this guy in a monkey costume. Awesome. More pandemonium and fireworks. And Green Man.
There we go.
Yeah. So yeah, a few of the sights and sounds from Broad Street that night. I think that was a fun little journey right there. But yeah, I mean, like, everybody and their mother setting off fireworks. Nobody hit me with a firework. Everybody was actually pretty respectful.
I was going to say, did you come away with any battle scars, Steve?
No battle scars. Unbelievably enough, I don't remember the walk back very well. The walk there, I remember very well. The walk back, not so much. We just went to like Broad and South. We met. We ended up making that kind of a meeting point for various people. I met up with a lot of people I wanted to meet up with, which is pretty miraculous when you consider how many people are out there. Like, if you're looking at this picture, like, this should give you just an idea of just how much people there are out on Broad in this scenario. And I'm sure you've seen like all the shots at this point, from the aerial shots and everything.
There was one thing I saw on TikTok of someone was like right on South Broad, maybe like a block or a couple blocks from like City Hall. And they're just like looking out the window, like of their balcony. And they're just like, you know, taking a video. And it's just a massive humanity for like miles, dude. Like, it's just crazy. Everyone was out.
I don't think there's anything like it. I really don't think there is anything like it. And I'm going to share quick video also of fireworks going off.
Oh my God, look at that.
Yeah, so like,
oh, that's unreal.
You're hearing the Eagles chants, just like it's just the best. Like, I think that's why I feel the need to talk about it on this Flyers podcast, because like it's such a unique situation. And the thing is, if you're not from Philadelphia and you don't know Philadelphia Eagles fans, you might think this is a full-on
You
riot.
don't get it. You don't get
like when you see people with like traffic lights being like upchucked and you see some broken windows, like, which those are all, I don't care about the traffic lights. The broken windows are fucked up. Don't do that. Although insurance will pay for it, so I don't care that much. But like, don't like, it's very little actual looting or whatever. And the traffic lights were more of a fuck you to the mayor who told people not to climb the poles, which she was right, because somebody died from it. So you shouldn't climb the poles. But at the same time, people don't like to be told what to do in the city. The light poles, they're going to replace them. It's fine. It's whatever. Like, it's all replaceable stuff, loss of life. Please be careful. Please be kind to each other. That was just an unfortunate situation where, a younger person just,
Yeah.
whatever. But like, for the most part, people are just happy. Like, they're joyful. They're happy to be around each other and like experience this. And we just love sports and the Eagles. And this is, in my opinion, this is what it's all about. This is why we watch sports. This is why we get together to enjoy sports, are moments like this, because like it is just special and unique. And you see weird shit. You see chainmail guy, you see guy in the monkey costume, you see guy in the poncho, you see the guy in the eagle costume and the guy holding the flag. Is like, any weird things stick out to you that you saw in your your second now, because you went out for the NFC Championship game?
Yeah, I mean, nothing that anyone who has been abroad to celebrate a victory hasn't seen. I mean, people climbing on top of literally anything they can get their hands on. We were at one point, we were just kind of carrying this police barricade. We were all just kind of, just passing it along, just because why not,
Yeah.
So
the barricades are so funny to me. Like, they line up the trash trucks to try and stop people. They put the barricades up and like people pick up the barricades. They climb on the trash trucks.
Yeah.
Somebody climbed into a salt truck for like salting the roads.
Yeah, that's where I was. So one of my friends, my friend Jacob, got a great photo of me and like 40 other people just stacked inside of this like dump truck full of salt. So like we all climbed on top of it and we were just in there just screaming, just nothing even audible, just we were just so excited. So we did our fair share of climbing. We were just, it's just pure elation. That's what it is. It's just pure joy and excitement after one of the most thrilling victories and possibly the most impressive victory in the history of Philadelphia sports. I think, really don't know if there's a more impressive, like more dominant win than what we saw on Sunday in the grandest stage of them all.
Like, we're talking right now, is this the best team in Philadelphia sports history? And it's a serious question, because when you think about the greats in Philadelphia sports history, you think about the Broad Street Bullies, obviously, but that's a different era. And they won by beating the shit out of people. Like, completely different sport almost entirely. But nonetheless, you had Bobby Clark, you had Bill Barber, Rick McLeish, Reggie Leach.
Bernie.
You got guys, Bernie. You got guys, I mean, they were the most dominant guys of their era. But nonetheless, amazing team. They're, I think you have to say they're the best Flyers team of all time, even if like by modern standards, they are not good at hockey, but like back then they were the best. So the Broad Street Bullies are up there. I throw probably well, it's funny because the 08 Phillies were probably the least talented of like the four that went to the World Series there. But, those Phillies are up there as far as like the champions go. I mean, the 2022 Phillies might be better, but they got, they lost. So I don't know if they can get thrown in there. The 80 Phillies were really good. Steve Carlton, Mike Schmidt, both Hall of Famers. So the 80 Phillies are up there. And then the Eagles, like, they kicked the shit out of the Chiefs this year. And then, like, I guess maybe you could throw, like, the 83 Sixers up there because Dr. J was one of the best. But, like, I mean, modern sports are just so crazy competitive. Everybody's a freak of nature at this point. And the fact that, and it's a salary cap game now, too.
Yeah.
So the fact that Howie Roseman could assemble this roster of just complete freaks and amazing athletes like he did through both the draft, free agency, and trades. Like, he really did it all. It's something else. It's just like, and I really do think they are probably the best team in Philadelphia sports history.
I would tend to agree with that. Listen, I actually saw, I can't remember who tweeted it out. It may have been like ESPN or something, but I saw this graphic that basically was just like, here are all the players the Eagles got using the picks that they acquired for Carson Wentz. And it was like, I think it was like Jalen Carter and Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, like crazy. Like, they went out and got all these guys. And it's just, it's unbelievable to me. Cooper DeJean, the other one. It's unbelievable, their asset management and how good they were at, just putting this championship team together. Like, one of the all-time, like you said, Steve, one of the all-time great teams in Philadelphia sports history. I think even more so than that, I don't think it is irrational to argue, is this one of the best teams in the history of football? I think you could argue that they're up there, that they're a top 10 team, the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles. Are they a top 10 all-time NFL team? I think you could argue that they are.
It's unbelievable, like, to talk about this, because, like, we're just used to getting shit on. Like, we were talking, like, we were thinking we didn't feel comfortable until they were up 30 plus points. Like, we were still thinking Mahomes can come back. They have Travis Kelce, right? Who it's crazy to think about, like, how cathartic this was in a number of ways too, because of those figures right there. And it's not, I don't have as much hate in my heart for Patrick Mahomes as a lot of other people.
Yeah,
I know.
Honestly, I think that's kind of like a weird, like, I understand, like, being, like, having Chiefs fatigue, as people have called it, but, like,
which I definitely had that, but
yeah,
like,
but, like, I don't dislike Pat Mahomes. I respect Mahomes like crazy.
Yeah, Mahomes as an athlete is very respectable. I know people hate his brother, but, like, I don't know anything about that.
Right.
So I don't really
even
get
think
that much
about
shit.
his brother.
Travis Kelce's definitely overexposed in the media, but, like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's worse guys. I know there's also some controversy over some recent comments he had, and
Did you know?
I thought it was very PR.
Did you notice that Taylor was not wearing any Chiefs gear?
I did, and I almost felt bad about us savagely booing her in that stadium, which that stadium was 75-25% Eagles fans.
Yeah, I know.
It was like a home game. It was unbelievable. But yes, I did notice that. And Taylor, you can always come back.
You can come back.
We'll take you back, Taylor. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll take you back. All right.
So my theory is that when Travis made those comments, Taylor, of course, heard of them. She certainly heard those comments, and she is very much not. Those comments were not vibing well with Taylor, I reckon, based off of her political stance. So I have my theory is that Taylor and Travis, they got into a little bit of a spat in the lead up to the Super Bowl. Kind of messed with Travis's brain a little bit,
but also
great performance in the Super Bowl. And she was like, you know what? I'm not going to wear your jersey. Go Birds.
But also, yeah, she is. I mean, she was a Birds fan, at least at one point. So Taylor, listen,
come on back.
Forgive. Come on back. All right. You know, we boo everybody who appears to be on the other side. That's just how we are. So come on back. We'll take you back. It's all good. And Travis just retired. He looked like he was completely out of it. You know, he looked like a shell of himself. He also, really man, that fit that he came in on, real bozo shit.
Rough. Yeah, it was odd.
like super 70s spectacular. Like it's take a note from your brother and just wear a t-shirt and flip-flops in.
I was confident the Eagles were going to win as soon as I saw Jalen Hurts' purple like suit or jumpsuit or whatever that was. It was
Right. He's a sharp dresser, that Jalen Hurts. Like
yeah.
that's how I felt at the NFC Championship game when I saw him come in that like 90s R&B look. I'm like, oh, it's done. You got he had the Kangol on shit. Like, oh, it's done. It's over.
Yeah.
No, the
Same with
Eagles,
Devontae Smith too. He came in looking like, some sort of like
I
the
don't know what.
character. He looked like the character him from Powerpuff Girls. I mean, he just looked incredible. So
Yeah, dude, they're sharp dressers. They're just cool guys. I mean, if I'm hanging out with one guy from that team though, it's Jordan Mailata. Like, I don't know what I have to do to get like 50 beers with Jordan Mailata, but I'm all in on it. He's like my favorite.
oh yeah. He's the man. But just, I think we've kind of hit each corner of the Eagles conversation, but my God, like what a week, what a weekend, what a win, what a team, and what a quarterback we have on our hands. Is he perfect? No, he's flawed. Jalen Hurts is a flawed quarterback. He's a flawed player, but you know what? He's our fucking guy, and I will follow him into a forest fire, Steve.
And most importantly, he's a winner.
He is.
And we don't get a lot of winners around here. So we're going to cherish them when we get them. So it's a cool feeling. Thank you to everybody that I've shared this with. A shout out to the guy I met on Broad Street. I didn't get your name, unfortunately, but there was a guy who I ran into who looked at me. He's like, Broad Street Hockey? And I'm like, hell yeah. And we cheers. It was a cool moment. It's always cool to be recognized. So shout out to whoever you are. Pleasure to meet you, and go Birds, of course. But it's cool to share that with everybody. That feeling of community is so cool. And when I can get a moment of like that with the Flyer, I just want a goddamn playoff game to watch with you maniacs. Okay. I love watching playoff games with you maniacs, and it's been entirely too long. So once we get there, I will unleash the Bourbon Steve, and we're going to shit talk, and we're going to have a great time. So, and Mishkov is going to score some winners. All right. Mishkov is going to get us to some fun places eventually. So I'm very excited for that. And that concludes the Eagles talk, 50 minutes of Eagles talk on this Flyers podcast. But I think it needed to happen because they're the goddamn world champions. And
that's all that matters in the world right now. Nothing else.
To me. I can't even think about where I put a meme out today where it was like Homer Simpson's brain. And it was just thinking about Jalen Hurts and the trophy right now.
Yeah. It's all that matters.
My brain is. But there is a cool hockey event happening right now. We're actually on a break for the Flyers right now.
Yeah.
This is what I want to talk about. So the last portion of the show is going to talk about what we have for the next 2-ish weeks right now in hockey. So the NHL is taking a break because they have engineered a little international tournament between 4 nations, not 2, not 6, 4 nations. And one of them is not Russia, which is one of the most dominant hockey nations of all. But again, we do get the geopolitical reasons for that. Mm-hmm. Although I'm not going to comment on all that. I have a lot of thoughts on that area that y'all don't want to hear here. Maybe we'll set up the Patreon for Steve's super political discourse and sports podcast, but that ain't today. But regardless, this tournament is between 4 teams, 4 nations facing off. The 4 nations are Canada, the United States, Finland, and Sweden. And it's a weird little tournament, to be honest with you.
At first,
I liked in the middle of the season.
I liked the idea of it at first, but now that it's like happening, it's just kind of awkward, and especially it's especially awkward without Russia and without the Czech Republic.
Yeah,
and without like Germany, which is one of the more up and coming hockey countries. It's just, I don't know. It feels like it's missing quite a lot.
It feels a little incomplete, and falling in the middle of the season is weird. Like, I'd almost rather just have like a week off for the players, like even without like an all-star game, just like have everybody get a week off to kind of just like bounce back and like figure out what they're doing. And because some of these guys need a rest, especially guys on the Flyers. I like this a lot for Matvei Michkov because Michkov has needed a break.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Michkov to get like 2 weeks off is huge right now. I was hoping Sam Ersson would get a break, but Sam Ersson is not getting a break. He is, in fact, one of the participants in this tournament here. And it looked like Rasmus Ristolainen wasn't going to get a break, but Rasmus Ristolainen is injured, so he actually won't be able to play for Finland.
Yeah, which honestly, to me, I think that's actually kind of a good thing. I'm bummed for him because I know that he probably really would enjoy playing for and representing Finland. But I'll be honest, I feel like he'll probably play for them in the Olympics next year. I would imagine he'll be fine. I'm sure he'll be all right. Waiting until next year to represent his country. And honestly, like for the Flyers, like there's a pretty good shot that they're trading this guy, Steve. So I'm glad that he's going to be on the sideline. He may not, there's a chance when you're representing your country that you could put your body on the line and hurt yourself. And, we don't want to be dealing with any damaged goods here. So for both the Flyers and Ristolainen's sake, I'm glad that he's able to just kind of heal, get 100% healthy. And then, we'll see what happens at the trade deadline. And what is really 3 weeks away, which is crazy.
Yeah. And that's what I think next week is really going to focus on. I think we're going to really gear in on a lot of like trade deadline talk going into the last couple weeks beforehand. And also just, what we can expect from the Flyers in the stretch run of this season, which I'm kind of exhausted even just thinking about because like this team's probably going to lose a lot of games, especially in the wake of the trade, but who the heck knows? But Sam Ersson is going to be a big deal in this tournament because we actually don't know how many games he's going to start. Linus Ullmark has had some issues for Sweden as far as injury go, and for the Senators rather, but he's going to be playing for Sweden. Phil Gustafsson, I don't think Samuel Ersson should be starting over either of those guys. I like Sam Ersson, but probably not. But regardless, Sam Ersson could get some time. It's probably a good spot for him to just get some work over the next couple of weeks while not being heavily relied upon. Regardless, I don't want Samuel Ersson to get hurt because I want him to finish the season strong because even though I think it's in the Flyers' best interest to lose games a lot for the remainder of the season, I don't want guys losing confidence, and he's a big piece for the next 2 years because until you can get Zavragin or Bjarnason up, Sam Ersson's your guy. And I don't want them signing a free agent because I want them going big game hunting. I want them going after a center or a defenseman or somebody a big piece of making the Flyers really good again, like we discussed earlier with the Eagles and Darius Slay, or when Danny Briere was brought onto the Flyers in the first place. If anybody knows the importance of bringing a good established vet on to help your team get to the next level, it's Danny Briere, who was that vet.
Yeah. Well, I do want to, again, a lot of people are really gassing up Igor Zavragin, which you should, but man, I don't. People.
That's a couple years away. Is the thing.
People are already labeling him as the savior of the Flyers goaltending situation.
That's why the podcast is called Flyperbole, because Flyers fans are so hyperbolic about gassing guys up early.
Yeah. But so let's pump the brakes on him. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves, but he's certainly exciting. That's for sure. But I mean, listen, I don't want this team to go astray. I want them to keep their eye on the number one priority here. And the number one priority for the team right now should be nothing other than getting a number one center. That's it.
Yeah. I agree.
Bolster the center. Bolster your center iceman.
Bolster the center iceman, especially because in modern NHL play, goaltending is not what it was in the 90s, where you need an established number one guy. You need Marty Brodeur. You need Mike Richter. You need Dominic Hasek, right? You really needed a number one no matter what.
Right.
And nowadays, a lot of teams get by with having effective tandems. And frankly, I think Sam Ersson could be part of that tandem no matter who it ends up being. Because I think that's what his ceiling, he could be a very good, guy who shares the role. I don't think he's going to be a one, no doubt about it, guy you rely on every night. He's not Shesterkin, right? But he is a guy that I think could be very good in the right tandem.
I agree. Yeah, I think so. And listen, like this is his kind of first year being like a number one. Lately he's been great. He started off the season pretty good, got hurt. He went through that, rough stretch for a while, but now he's looking good again. So, I do wonder what he would look like as a number one where he's healthy the whole season. But, at this point, I feel like you can't really bank that that's what he is. I don't know if we know that he's actually a number one for the long term. So, but yeah, man, like, going into this offseason, there's only one thing that the Flyers have in their mind, and that's getting a center. That's really it. So I do think we're at the stage now where it's like, yeah, if they start losing a lot of games toward the end of the season, that's cool. That's good. That's not a bad thing. Improve that draft position. Keep trying to acquire assets in whatever way, sell out the deadline. And when I say sell, I don't mean just trade every single person on the team, but try and get valuable assets for the players that are movable.
Like a Scott Lawton?
Could be Scott Lawton. Could be Scott Lawton, Steve. Who's to say? So, we're hearing reports that apparently teams are picking up, they're picking up the phone about Scotty Lutz. So we'll see what happens.
Is Scotty Lutz available? Can he come out and play for a first-round pick?
I need 2 first-round picks.
If you get 1 first-round pick for Scott,
that would be incredible.
I would take a second for Scott Lawton, but I've discussed this before, and we're going to discuss that a lot next week. That's going to be, I think, next week. I'm hoping we get some nice spicy rumors as we start to get the wind up to the trade deadline.
Yeah,
but I wanted to talk a little bit more about this tournament, because the tournament is really what's going on for the next 2 weeks, and I think it's it's got to be the most interesting thing going on right now in the hockey world, especially in the sports world, because the NFL season is over, as we all know, and pitchers and catchers have started reporting for baseball, but like the spring training's a long friggin' process, and it's just the beginning of it. There's not even games yet. And also, spring training baseball, while fun, especially if you're there watching, 10 Mai Tais deep, is not exactly like setting the world on fire. I'd much rather watch whatever the hell this weird tournament is than a spring training game. So looking at it right now, though, you've got your 4 nations, you've got Canada, the US, you've got Sweden, and you've got Finland. I would have to say, like, off the bat, I don't know who the favorite is, but Canada's entire roster is ridiculous. Except for their goaltenders. Their goaltenders stink.
I was going to say, I'm going to be honest, I think USA is actually going to win this thing.
I think USA might win it just because, it's funny, I just talked about tandem goaltending, but they have the best tandem. The USA goaltending is ridiculous. They have both Connor Hellebuyck and Ottinger. What?
And I think their defense is better too. I mean, you got Quinn Hughes, you got Charlie McAvoy, you got Jacob Slavin, who's one of the best defensive defensemen in the entire NHL. Who am I forgetting right now? I don't have the roster.
I'm pulling up the roster right now. So you've got Brock Faber, Adam Fox, Noah Hannafin, Charlie McAvoy, Jake Sanderson, Jacob Slavin, and Zach Werenski. That is loaded.
That's a great blue line. And then at forward, I mean, obviously Canada has McDavid. You got so many good players on the Canada team, but like for the United States, you got Jack Hughes. You got Austin Matthews.
Austin Matthews is a big one. Kyle Connor, I think, is an underrated one there.
He's so underrated. Like
he scores so many goals.
Yeah, he's outstanding. Yeah. So I mean,
Jack Eichel.
Yeah,
Jake Gensel, Jack Hughes, as you said, JT Miller, who's having a nice year. Both Kachuk boys.
Yeah.
And hey, I hate him, but Brock Nelson scores a lot of goals. He's a decent 4th liner there. That said, I think TK might end up being a 4th liner on Canada, and he's awesome.
Probably. Yeah,
he's awesome, and I'm excited to see what TK does. I think Sanheim is going to be scratched tonight, which is fine by me, because we were talking about Sam Ersson having fatigue, right? Travis Sanheim plays a lot of friggin' minutes for the Philadelphia Flyers
Yeah.
right now. I am perfectly happy with Travis Sanheim being scratched a few nights in this tournament. Like, I'm happy he got in. I know it's a great honor for him to be part of that roster, but like,
This
I need
means
this
nothing.
guy to get a little rest.
Yeah. Like, listen, would it be cool to win the Four Nations face off? Yeah, it would. Does it have any significance? No, it
Yeah.
doesn't. Will this tournament even happen again? Because they're already discussing just doing another World Cup of Hockey in February of 2028.
Yeah.
So like,
And I still just don't know how I feel about dropping a tournament into the middle of the season. Like, I guess they're trying to normalize it for when the Olympics do happen, so it becomes like more of a normal thing. But like, I think the Olympics deserve, to have their space because they're the
yeah,
freaking Olympics. Like,
yeah,
no matter how many World Cups you set up, no matter how many Four Nations tournaments you set up, there's only one Olympics, and it's always going to mean more to these players than any of this other stuff.
yeah. Like, and you can say, oh, it's a great honor to represent my country and everything, but it's not the Olympics. Like,
It's not the
this is
Olympics.
like, a great value Walmart store brand of that. Like, no one wants that.
We have the Olympics at home, dear.
Yeah, yeah. There's simply no reason. So
There
by
is
all
much
means,
more clout.
participate. If you get invited, participate for sure. But like, just know that like the real prize is the actual Olympics and not whatever the hell this tournament is.
There
And
is
I say
always
this
going to
now,
be more clout to an Olympic gold medal than any of these other prizes.
yeah. And I say this now as if I'm not going to watch the hell out of the Four Nations face. Of course, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to
I
watch
mean,
the whole
anytime
tournament.
you've got a bunch of elite NHL players playing together, it's a fun time. Like,
Yeah,
I'm into it, but like, I'm not into it. If you get what I mean, right? Like, I'm
yeah,
into it, like, as far as watching the hockey goes, but like, I don't really care. I'm not feeling ultra patriotic right now either, so I'm not exactly going USA, USA out in the streets. So like, as far as like, this is like a nice little sideshow, but like, it's real whatever to me at the end of the day. So I will say though, I like the US team. Canada's got great scoring, but the fact that Jordan Binnington is their starting goaltender is like a
it's
sick
bad.
joke.
It's really bad.
What has happened to Canadian goaltending?
Canada's goaltending is not good. Like, it's really, really, really bad. So
Makes you
all the best
wonder.
goalies come from Russia or the United States, typically. Or
Makes you wonder if
you
somebody
get
would
some
be
you get some
starting if he wasn't a piece of shit.
you get some good ones from Sweden every once in a while. But for the most part, like, Russia and the United States dominate the goalie realm. So
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, it's. I unfortunately just had the thought of if somebody would be starting if he wasn't just a trash.
yeah.
Yeah.
Not a Bennington guy whatsoever. So
Oh, I'm talking about a different guy. If it's yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But Finland's interesting because they're a good defensive team, like a solid defensive team. I'm a little disappointed to not see what Risto is doing in there because I kind of wanted to see like where he's at
Yeah.
outside of the Flyers, and it might have been a nice showcase, but at the same time, I feel like he's shown enough with the Flyers this year to bolster his trade value anyway. Like, I feel like his
Yeah.
trade value is like right up there where it's still like monumentally higher than it was a couple years back. So I I was curious, but at the same time, this is probably better to keep him healthy for a potential trade.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And listen, I don't know if this was Finland's choice. I don't know if this was anyone's choice, but again, like I said earlier, I think it's good for Ristolainen that he doesn't play. There's no need to rush back from an injury. It's certainly good for the Flyers because now his value isn't exactly dipping. Like, I don't think him missing this tournament is going to really hurt him. He'll come back, he'll suit up in the orange and black, and he'll get back to playing. And he'll, assuming he just continues playing at the rate that he was, I mean, I do think that he could get you a first round pick, which is just crazy to think about given, what the narrative surrounding him was for years after the Flyers got him. So, yeah, I think it's, him missing the tournament isn't exactly the worst thing.
Yeah. No, I'm in agreement there. I was curious though, and I know that especially for a lot of the European players, it's always a big deal to play in the international tournaments because just the glory of that versus necessarily the They don't. I don't know if they feel as close to the Stanley Cup as necessarily a North American player does, but
Right.
I could also just be making wild. I think it's more the Olympics though. I know especially with Russians, like the Olympics is like the biggest deal.
The Europeans love the Olympics. Like
Yeah,
it's a huge thing for them. So
absolutely. So yeah, ultimately should be a fun tournament. I mean, I don't know what to expect, but hopefully we're seeing some really good hockey out of it. I feel like Sweden's got a solid roster, but like I don't see Sweden doing it. I think Finland could be a fun dark horse here, and it kind of feels like another comes down to Canada and the US event, but prove me wrong, guys.
yeah, I'll go ahead and take USA. I think they have the better, more complete roster, especially in net. So
Yeah, the net presence is just something else. I mean, how often can you friggin' like go Buck and Ottinger? Like it's just unreal.
right, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be the difference for
Yeah.
them.
And again, I guess maybe sleeping on Slavin there because Slavin, might actually also be one. He's a top 5 defenseman in the NHL right now, right? Like he's unbelievable.
I mean, I wouldn't put him top
You
five,
want to put him top 5? Okay.
but
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
in terms of pure defensive play, I would say for sure.
That's what I'm thinking more,
Yeah,
just like as a defenseman, not necessarily as like if adding the offensive
yeah,
capabilities as well. Like as far as being like a pure defenseman goes, like he's like a real shutdown. I mean, I don't know what the pairings are, but Slavin and Fox, right? You talk about balancing each other out right there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I don't know. I think that would be. I think that's I just think they have a much more complete team than Canada. And like again, like I said, you got McDavid, and that's literally you got McDavid, you got McKinnon. Like that's pretty much all you need to make yourself a contender if you're
I mean,
Canada.
those guys are just monsters, and
They're
I'm
nuts.
I'm excited to see that kind of stuff. Those kind of guys play against each other too. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, should be interesting. Let's do that hockey and see what happens. But all right, folks, I think we've talked quite a bit today, and yeah, we'll let you go. But sorry, not sorry for all the Eagles talk. Special time, but hey,
I
guess
will
what?
not
Well,
apologize.
yeah, I'm not apologizing. It's sorry, not
It
sorry.
is.
I'm not actually sorry. But so next week we'll probably mention the parade a little bit, see how the parade went, because how often do you get a damn parade in this town? 3 times in 40 years. Come on. And we're gonna talk about the parade, but we'll talk a heck of a lot about your Flyers for the remainder of the season, as well as trade deadline stuff. So we got that tangy tent on cue. And by the way, shout out to everybody who sent me Gordon Ramsay and Guy Fieri watching the Super Bowl together because that
Oh,
was pretty funny.
that's awesome.
Man, take me to Flavor Town immediately. More
Oh,
donkey sauce.
and the Eagles absolutely took us to Flavor Town.
Oh, yeah,
So,
they no additional donkey sauce needed for your
no,
Philadelphia
we
Eagles.
we
Nope.
got our serving of donkey sauce for sure.
Nothing being shut down except for maybe the Chiefs. They were shut down big time.
Yeah.
But yeah, folks, thanks so much for listening. We truly appreciate and cherish and love you all. As I told way too many people on Broad Street on Sunday night, I was feeling very lovey-dovey. But we are going to get going. If you have any feedback for us, the best place is on social media. Where can people find you on the blue skies, Ryan, quickly?
Oh wow, you can find me on the
Wow.
blue sky at Ryan Quigs with a Z. What
Ryan
about
Quigs
you,
with a
Steve?
Z over there. Over on Blue Sky. You can find me at Flyperbole or at Esteban, but if it's for hockey purposes, make it Flyperbole. It's Flyperbole on Instagram. It's Flyperbole on TikTok. And forget about the X Twitter account. I don't fuck that. All right. So we're headed out of here. Thanks so much for listening. Go Birds. And until next time, in the words of the great Gene Hart, good night and good hockey. Wow, 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 wow.